A time-sensitive high school dance, a troubled cartoon studio, a race on starbound bikes, and a faraway desert planet. Come with us now as PopCon visits the destinations you always dreamed of going to. Familiar settings through a whole new lens. Up next.
Get away from her, you bitch.
Welcome to the show. This is PopCon, a salute to all pop culture, but mostly the 80s. If you're new to PopCon, please consider subscribing for a dose of established popular culture that will live long after you or I. This is not a video, it's a show. And today's show, the 80s on location. I should call today's guest Dr. Emmett Brown, because he's going to take us on a trip through time so we can all relax, reminisce, and relive those moments of our youth that never truly get out of our system. A member of the Fox marketing team for comedies, this Hollywood bigwheel spent time as a writer on some hit shows before taking on his current role in television. But we're not here to talk about his trade, but about his true love. Getting the perfect shot and recreating scenes from filming locations of the movies that made him, and in turn us too. Today's Pop Conversation with Chuck Snyder. Welcome to PopCon, Chuck. Thanks for being here.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So this is pretty exciting for me. I've told my audience, my viewers, that you are a Fox marketing team, or you're on the Fox marketing team for comedies, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about something else that I guess is a passion of yours. So thanks again. We're going to dive right in. So I always say about my channel, it is a salute to all pop culture, but mostly the 80s. For me, that is my era. That is my period. I think it's the best decade, but you know, who am I, right? Now, when I look at what you've done and what we are talking about today, I feel like you have a similar feel. Do you have a passion for that time period?
Oh yeah, best music by far. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, because I think
music my jam, and yeah, just sort of that frame of reference. Those are the TV shows I grew up on. I was a latchkey kid, so a lot of TV watching. Back when I always say back when Saturdays were king, Saturday nights. Now Saturday, TV is a wasteland, but Saturday nights was, Love Boat Fantasy Islands.
So you said latchkey kid, and of course I went right to Punky Brewster. That is like where she's like the ideal 80s latchkey kid, and she has her new show as well. I don't know what channel it's on, but she has a Punky Brewster all grown up. So
I think Peacock might work. I think
yes, Peacock. Well, there's another one right there. I just
exactly.
All things old are new again. So we're not here exactly to talk about your role in television, although we might touch on it. We're here. Today's PopCon show is 80s on location. And instead of me or my viewers traipsing around the country looking for filming locations, I thought I would use someone who I knew did just that. I have been fascinated by your photographs and filming locations of some of the best movies of that decade and beyond. And I wanted to get you on board here and help share, because I know a lot of my viewers would love to revisit and relive some of those iconic movies that stay with us today. And you've basically been there. You've been there over and over, and you've been to a lot of them. And even though they aren't the same anymore, I think there's a great feeling. So we're going to go ahead and share that passion. Has working in Hollywood made it easier to go and find filming locations of popular movies?
Oh, sure. Yeah, 100%. It's like I can hop in the car at any point and sort of track something down.
I know I was talking about the 80s, but being that the 70s launched the Blockbuster with Jaws, the 80s just reminded is when we think of Star Wars in the desert, a lot of people think of Tunisia. And that's all you hear. Now, this is Death Valley, and I actually didn't even ponder that there was filming in Death Valley until I started looking at pictures. And so this is amazing. As I see this first one, I see that the rock has either fallen with wear over time. And to me, I'm like telling myself, how in the world do you find this location?
Oh, gosh. So that was crazy. So Death Valley's like, it's about a 5-hour drive from LA. So they just started to do these pickup shots in LA. And it's funny too. So they did it for Star Wars, and then they go back and they get it. They did the opening scenes of Return of the Jedi kind of in the same area, Death Valley again.
It looked quite similar. There's a picture from going up to Jabba's palace, I noticed.
Yeah. So how do I find those? Well, that's a location that like a lot of people have scouted.
Okay.
Now, so my location scouting kind of runs the gamut. So it'll be first off, I kind of have to be interested in it. Like people will tell me where certain things are filmed a lot, and I'll be like, I don't like that movie. I never saw that show. And I try to be courteous, but I'll be like, that's fine. Sometimes I'm starting from zero. But ever since I started, so I've been doing this probably close to 20 years. But now there's kind of a community. So there's guys like I can dig a lot of stuff out, but I've got a couple friends who are really good on the internet as well. So if I can't find something, I can ask them. They'll ask me to help them find stuff as well. So sometimes you're starting from zero. Sometimes other people have found it, and you're just going to sort of revisit it. And then sometimes, these are the hard ones, like there is nothing in the shot that gives you any clues. It's a generic building. There's no like sort of geography. There's no address to go off of. You don't even know what climate it's in. It's weird. And so, because I'll even go sometimes to try to figure out, like, I'll try to look where the sun is in the shot, like where the shadows are, and I'll be like, oh, the house is facing east, or the house is facing west. I'll just try to figure it out. So sometimes what I have to do is I try to track down the location manager. I think I've only had to do that like 3 times.
So you have a lot of resources because, like I said, here's this picture, and the topography has eroded.
Yeah.
And over 40 plus years, I see in the bottom photo, there's a bunch of cars, like obviously other people are visiting as well. So they know the area. So like you said, a community, because I was like, how in the world could you find this after so long? But like you said, either it's other people that have done it already and it's well known, or like you said, you actually used a resource of someone on the
okay, so here's the funny part about the Star Wars. I always normally either have the screenshot from the movie printed out, or I have it on my phone, and I'm trying to line it up perfectly. Sometimes I can't because if it's a crane shot, you just can't get that high. Or
angle.
like sometimes you just can't do it.
So this is what you're talking about too. You've got shots from the film to line up the terrain.
Yeah, because I want to replicate it.
So this is from the Muppets, the literal fork in the road.
The fork in the road.
The fork in the road. So first, what made you go? 2, was it difficult to find?
Oh, okay. So yeah, what made me go? Huge Muppet fan. The Muppet Show was just in my wheelhouse. I don't know why. It just sort of hit me at a time. I think I'm trying to think. Like, I think this is the right age. But the Imagineer Tony Baxter, he says like the things that were popular when you were like 7 are the things that you like sort of are like, that's my stuff. And so the Muppet Show I was probably around 7 whenever that hit. So I just loved it. And so the Muppet movie came out, I loved it. So whenever I moved here, I was like, I don't think much of it really was shot around here. And then I saw this shot, and in that shot, the top shot, there is a real estate sign, and it's really small. And I kept trying to figure out, what does it say? What does it say? What does it say? And once I figured out what it said, then I was just obsessed with like, where did they shoot this?
Right.
And it was Westlake Village. So that's like, it's not that far. You were saying like, is it advantageous to live here? Yes. Because it's like a 45-minute drive. So there's always like little clues in the shots. Like the building you're looking for might not be there anymore, but chances are there, especially in LA, a lot of times there's, an address painted on the curb, or there's a street sign or something like that. And you're always like, and the problem is like the film degrades over time. So you're always looking for a good copy. Yeah. Like that darn street sign, if I could get it just a little bit crisper. So that's always the chase. Yeah. So once I'm trying to find something like this, I'm generally all in.
Yeah.
And it's all hands on deck. Like I'm going to dig it out. I'll generally like Victor, I spend an embarrassing amount of time looking at this stuff
That
because
would be exciting though, because so many people don't have that time, but they want it. So really, your work is paid off. I'm looking at
I
this.
guess so. Yeah.
This
So
is
like I can spend a day to a week to, if I can't find it, now I'm contacting directors and location managers. I'm asking my friends, like, can you help me? And then I'll go and find it.
Well, then you are lucky that you have the resources around you. I'm looking at this street scene. Sweetums running down the street. It is, obviously the late 70s. Your photo is in the late 2015 to 2020. And did you have to research the filming of this to find the street? Because it is so hard to tell. The growth was actually large.
That was a tough one. That one was a tough one too. I don't quite remember the story behind that one, but I think there were visual clues. There was businesses in the shot. And that one was actually closer. And it was so weird. That's the shot where, what's his name? Madman Moody.
There is that one too. We have the car dealership.
Yeah, that was still painted on the side of the wall, which was crazy.
There it is. This one here is Mad Moody, and you've got
Mad Moody. And it was like, why is that? That was obviously made for the movie. Why is that still on the wall? But it was just like one of those things. Yeah.
Do you think they keep it on the wall because they do honor their movie history, or was it there for the film?
I think it was there for the film, and they just left it up. And I've been there recently, and it's not there anymore. They painted it over.
Then let's see. We're gonna pop into the time machine here and go to the 80s. So looks like Back to the Future. We're gonna leave the 70s behind. There was a lot of time you spent in there, and there's a lot of locations besides it's high schools, the homes. And if we start with that beautiful home, what in the world, Emmett? Dr. Brown's home.
Yeah. So that is actually okay. The funny part about that is a sort of the quintessential example of a craftsman home in Pasadena. And it's actually, you can tour it. It's called the Gamble House, sort of a public place. And you can tour that. Okay, this Burger King 3 years ago, it looks different now. For the longest time, it looked the same. Now they've modernized it, but it's still there. That's my Burger King. We eat, if I go to a Burger King, that's the Burger King we go to. It's like one of the closest.
The house. So this is which house? Who is this? Biff's house, actually.
That's Biff's house. Yeah.
It looks much nicer now.
Yeah. It's in a very nice area. But what's funny about that is, I'm sure Eric Stoltz was the original Marty.
I do.
And Michael J. Fox was in the same neighborhood shooting Teen Wolf. So
you and I both know that there's a lot of sets. This is on location, but we talk about backlots. I think everybody knows the Clock Tower is very famous for being at Universal Studios.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's been used in so many films. Do you find it exciting to still find locations that are still on backlots?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, because they'll redress it. That location actually miraculously survived a big fire like 10 years ago. Okay, that was a weird one. So this is the Clock Tower, but it's not the clock tower. So my daughter and I are at the gym where the Enchantment Under the Sea dance happens.
Right.
And that is in Hollywood at the top of, that's right smack dab in Hollywood. It's actually a gymnasium attached to a church.
Okay.
Right at Hollywood, right at Highland, right below the Hollywood Bowl. And going in to the gym, I see a staircase, not this staircase, but I see that railing on a staircase, and something clicked to me, Victor, and I was like, I'll bet the staircase is here. And I don't know why. So now we start scouring the building, and I found it.
Like this is in the back as well. This is a sign to the subdivision he lived in. But is it just as fun to see that when you're on a backlot? And I know Universal is got their special backlot tour, their park, but other backlots still exist.
Yeah. So Warner Brothers has a huge backlot. You see it some in La La Land.
Oh yeah.
Universal has a big one, and then so Disney, 30 miles out in Santa Clarita, they have what's called Golden Oak Ranch. And I do have shots at Golden Oak Ranch as well. So that's Disney's ranch. And you would be surprised that things that have been shot at Disney's Golden Oak Ranch. So it's funny, like, why do people like these shots? And I don't quite know. I think it's part of I think some people like the shots because they like to see the passage of time. I think some people like it for nostalgic purposes. And I think some people like it that they're really intrigued, like if it hasn't changed. They're like, oh my God, it's still there. So I think it just runs the gamut. And I've never really been able to put my finger on it. Like, I know why I like it, because I'm always fascinated with these common places, right? That sort of like magic happen. This is going to sound weird, but like, so when I was a kid, I grew up in a really small town. In a carnival, we'd have a carnival like once a year. And I remember the circus coming too. And I can remember like going to those events and really liking it, right? But I also remember going to those places like 2 days after, and like the grass is all mashed down and everything is gone. And I was like, 2 days ago, this place was packed and now it's nothing. And it was just sort of like so odd to me. And I think that's sort of what has drawn me into this. It's like people drive, especially in Hollywood, people drive by these locations all the time. And they don't even know like some of the movie magic that has been filmed, you know, on these streets that they just sort of commute by and sort of grind through every day.
Like this one?
You know what was filmed there? Which one are we looking at?
This is Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman.
Apartment.
Pretty Woman. Yeah. So that's a crappy hotel down in Hollywood on Las Palmas, I think.
On 2015, a friend of mine and I were there, and we were having lunch, and he said, come around the corner. It was down the street from the Chinese theater, take a left. And he went up and I was like, it's right here. It's amazing. So you were mentioning earlier, how is there a lot of this just in the city of LA where, yep, we used that. Yep, we used that.
Yeah, there's a ton of it. And what's kind of sad sometimes is like, I don't have a lot of these, but there's definitely shots I've gotten that the stuff is gone now.
And I love that earlier you said, why do people like this? And definitely there's nostalgia, but I do like, there's this interest of like things changing. But what you described is, when I go to a city, I just came back from New Orleans. When I'm at the city and you're in the French Quarter, you're like, yeah, this is fascinating as it is. But I like it when someone tells me, what was this house? What was this house in 17, 18, whatever? So I think there is that, like, I want to know deeper. So when I do look at some of these images, I know it's that same feeling like you said about a fair. Yesterday, all of this was busy. And today, no trace of it. So I think that's a fascinating. Is that why you do it? Or so why do you? Is that it?
I don't know. You know, Tracy, my wife one time asked me like, what's your fascination with this? And I couldn't articulate it. I don't know. I think it was like, you know, like I said, going back to, I was a latchkey kid and I watched a lot of TV, and now I can go to those places I saw as a kid. That's probably part of it. I don't know. And okay, so here's the other faction to it too. It is rare. It is really rare when you go to these places that you feel, you get the vibe of what it was, right? Like it can be, like you can go in front of the Happy Days house, which is right by Paramount.
Yeah.
And you don't feel like, oh, this is Happy Days. But sometimes when you hit those locations, you're like, oh, I'm in it. Like, this is it. Like, this feels like it. And those are always fun, but you never know if you're going to get those sort of like those feels until you get there.
The Twin Pine Mall, or at the end of the movie, the Lone Pine Mall, that is pretty epic. I've seen a lot of people go there and visit. Is it still an active mall? There's a lot of dead malls out there.
No, it's still an active mall, and that's the one when you get down in that in the parking lot. Whenever I said like sometimes you feel like, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
That's one of those places where you'll get the feels. You'll be like, oh, this is where it happened.
That is epic. That
yeah, I think too, that comes a lot with the it's got to be like a 360, you know, because like a lot of times you'll see a shot, but you don't see what's behind the camera. But like in movies, especially, you'll see it from all angles. So when you get in there, you know, you recognize the angles. So yeah,
You're
still there.
standing there and you know that's where it, oh, this is where it was pointing at, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's all there.
That is a great shot. And so is, I love how you line things up. Like, well, that's
Mhm.
exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. Hmm.
The DeLorean. Gull-wing doors rise effortlessly, beckoning you inside. The sleek, stainless steel DeLorean. Beautifully crafted for long life. The DeLorean is one of the most awaited automobiles in automotive history. Drive the DeLorean. Live the dream today.
So what is your favorite, what is the movie you're most connected to from the 80s?
The one I've chased the most is probably Back to the Future. There's still a couple locations I need to get.
Yeah.
Um,
Are
that
you
was probably the one
emotionally,
I've chased the most.
are you emotionally connected to that film for any reason?
I don't know. I think the music's good. I think
Music is
Michael J.
fantastic. I love
Fox.
that
It just
score.
sort of like he was in my wheelhouse at the time.
Well, my favorite is E.T. and you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that is actually very, I think, the most important movie of my youth, to be honest. But I love this house. Little has changed and a lot of
Otherwise,
growth.
yeah, and a completely different area than the rest of the movie. Like,
Oh, you mean the rest of the neighborhoods that they all go
yeah,
through?
Victor, I'm telling you, it's probably, I don't want to say 20 miles, but it might be 20 miles from the rest of the neighborhood.
Wow.
It's just so odd. So when they go down the hill, it's like, then they cut to 20 miles away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so when I look at that, the neighborhood that they're biking through here, totally under construction at the time.
Yeah, Porter Ranch, and it's a neighborhood right above Northridge, California. And yeah, those houses are all established now, but it was a construction zone during the.
Is it well known that that's the place? Everybody,
I don't know. It's funny you should say that. Like, I've told people that, and who've lived in Porter Ranch, and they'll be like, "Oh, I didn't know."
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
so
what
it's
I was
odd.
curious about. How many times you ran up here, asked people to go, I didn't know that was in that movie. I work here every day.
Yeah, it definitely happens. It definitely happens. Yeah. Yeah, trick or treating.
These shots, all that same. Is this the neighborhood that the home is in, or that the construction was in?
Construction. This is all Porter Ranch.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about finding the place where they were to meet that night? That seemed difficult.
It wasn't that difficult. Again,
Mountain Range?
no, some people had sort of pointed me in the direction of this, and then I had to definitely research some of these. I don't know if that was one of the ones that I had to research, but there's definitely a few of these, like, you're just sort of wandering around. This
Was weird. I saw your Top Gun picture, and I feel like you're in the ballroom of a hotel.
You are in a ballroom of a.
But yet the picture from the movie looks like I don't know. Was it a bar or was that just a party scene?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I think it was dressed to be a bar. It is definitely, it's just a hotel ballroom. It's blurry because there was a lady in there setting up for a wedding, and I knocked on the door and I went in. I was like, "Is this where Top Gun was shot?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Can you take my picture?" And she said, "Yeah." And I just ran out of there, and I was like, "Oh, it's blurry."
Oh, that's fun. No, but that's great. She knew too, which is
yeah. And it's just so odd because, yeah, it doesn't look like anything.
No, this one amazed me the most. They actually used it as a soundstage. That's what it feels like it was used as. And I was like,
and right behind me, like that's like I'm just in a little part of it. The ballroom's behind it, and then when I watch the movie, they try to disguise it, but they get the guys in front of it, and you're like, oh yeah, it's a huge cavern behind them. They try to make it feel intimate.
Now this is pretty iconic. It's still, it looks like they fenced it off. Is that to not have you go there?
No. So that whole area is leveled.
Oh,
they were saving this house because of its film history significance.
Right.
Then you want to tear it down. I think they did save it.
Okay.
But the only reason it was going to get saved because it was in Top Gun. This is another one of those. Late at night, my camera is super exposed because it is dark. A guy rides by on a bike. He said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "This is the house from Top Gun." He lives there. This is like an Oceanside. He had no idea. He's like, "Are you serious?"
Let's just pick up some other ones that are kind of fun, like Roger Rabbit.
Roger Rabbit. Yeah.
This is great. I mean, you see Maroon Studios, and that soundstage looking building in the back looks totally believable. And yet now it's just covered in like air handling units.
Yeah, air handling units. I think this is the Red Studios. So I think this studio's claim to fame is this is where Andy Griffith was shot. A lot of the Andy Griffith show was shot. And that's right in the heart of Hollywood. I think it's on Vine or Gower. I'm not sure, but it's on the way down the hill towards Paramount. Yeah, it's right there. Yeah.
Oh, this picture. I love that.
Yeah, this is where Andy Griffith show was shot. A lot of it. Yeah.
It is the Red Studio. Still great that Art Deco is still there. It looks much better in Roger Rabbit, I'll tell you. But I mean, come on, let's get the design going.
Yeah, exactly. Let's
see. What about Pee-wee Herman? Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So
that's one of those weird ones. I've seen that movie. I'm not a huge fan. That's one of the rare ones where I was like, well, it's here, I'll get it.
Yeah, okay.
So this is the Cabazon dinosaurs. This is on the way out the 10 freeway. So the 10 runs from Santa Monica to like Jacksonville, Florida.
Wow.
This is off the 10, and this is right before you get to Palm Springs. Still there. Behind, like right in front of me is a Burger King. So it's like Burger King and then dinosaurs. And you can see it literally right off the highway.
Now in the film, because I was a huge fan of the original, he climbed in one. Can you climb in any of these?
You can, yeah. So there's an admission charge to get into all those.
Oh
which
my
I didn't do. I just snagged the shots. But
right. You're like,
yeah, and I think they just repainted them so it looks a little bit better.
This house from Lethal Weapon, you said it's been used in a couple of different things, right?
Yeah. So I don't remember the second show. It was the Sally Field show. Was it Gidget?
Oh, Gidget. Yes, you had said Gidget.
Maybe it was Gidget. Yeah. So that's a house. It was the Lethal Weapon house. It's also the house where Julia Louis-Dreyfus lives in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Because the house right to the left of this is the Clark Griswold house, which was built specifically for that movie. And now it's changed a little bit. Now it's actually in WandaVision. I think it's the home of Wanda, the Clark Griswold house.
The Clark Griswold. Okay.
Yeah, and so they've shot a lot of, or maybe this is Wanda's house. I'm not sure. It's one of these two. But anyhow, they shot WandaVision on this street. This is called Blondie Street.
I just love that it's the from Christmas Vacation. It's Margot's house where.
Todd and Margot.
Yeah, that I love.
Victor. This is an odd house too, in the fact that like most of these houses are just they're sort of flats, but this is you can actually shoot
in it as well.
Interiors in this.
Okay.
It's sort of filled out, sort of roughed in.
You said
so when you walk inside, it feels like a house. There, so there it is.
So the Lethal Weapon, this has been used and it has the interiors. This is that same house?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
That's the same house. I'm inside that house. Yeah.
Is it, things like Beverly Hills Cop where it's a known hotel, easy to find, right? Is that as much fun as it is to go search?
It is because it's Beverly Hills Cop, but it's also, and I haven't gotten these shots because again, going back, like whenever I'm on a movie, I don't get other shots, but it's also the ballroom from Ghostbusters.
I wondered.
Whenever they actually come out the side doors of this, whenever they go, we came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Yeah.
It's the Biltmore downtown in LA.
Let's keep on that Ghostbusters.
Sure.
Was this in New York or is this in California? Dana Barrett.
It is in New York. It's like Central Park West. So the Macy's Parade would go right by this house, by this apartment building. And it's also, so it's in Ghostbusters, and it's where Will Ferrell's dad lives in Elf.
In Elf.
So in two iconic movies.
Yeah, absolutely. That is awesome. It looks unchanged.
Yeah.
This, oddly, it looks slightly different. Well, the stuff on the left looks identical, but
yeah. So this is when you're just coming out. I think this is Washington Square area. You're just coming out of Central Park, and you're sort of heading downtown towards Times Square.
Ghostbusters, New York City is a star in that movie, so
it is.
It is easy, like this right here, probably very easy to find.
So this is Columbia University, right there in the heart of it, Upper West Side, except right where my legs end is an iron fence now, so I'm crammed in there, so I couldn't get as wide. Yeah.
And then, so is the Ghostbusters firehouse an active hook and ladder?
That one in New York City is the exterior. The interior was shot here in LA at a firehouse that still exists. I have not been in. It's like sort of a, I don't know if it's a museum, but very few people I know have been inside. But the interiors were shot here in LA.
Got it.
That's
So
the
this is the
exterior,
New
and it's
York.
still
This is
there.
the exterior. Are they good about it? Is the staff like, yeah, we were the Ghostbusters. We're cool with it, and
Really cool with it. Like inside, I don't think you can see it. Maybe you can see it inside. They actually have an emblem, and it's 2. It's the ghost putting up 2. So
2.
Ghostbusters 2. It's a big plastic sign. So they're totally cool with it.
do you plan your vacations or business trips sometimes with like, hey, we're going here now? Let me look for any movies that were filmed there.
It's normally the other way. Yeah, it's that. It is. We're going here. I wonder what was shot there.
So we mentioned earlier, but are you emotionally connected to these films?
Hmm. I'd have to say yes, because like I said, if somebody pitches me a movie I don't care about, I'll be like, okay, thanks. But yeah, so films and TV shows, yeah, I definitely start. I have an interest in them. I sort of dig deep into it. I guess if I wasn't, I wouldn't do it, because
Sure. So you're telling me that people actually go, oh, you should go see this one. And you're like, oh, yeah, cool, sure. But if it
yeah, like
doesn't spark you.
Poltergeist House, people always pitch me the Poltergeist House.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I'm not into that movie, so I don't care. And that's not even, it's a little bit of a drive, and they pitch me that one all the time. I'm like, I don't care.
I'm just going to stop the video. Just kidding. I got to be honest, because if I was, I'd say, hey, what about the Freelings house? Because I love that that neighborhood. It's very much like E.T. though. That whole neighborhood, it has that same similar look and style. Poltergeist is one of my favorite films. So I was like, why don't you have a Poltergeist? But I get it. I don't want to fight. Obviously, being in Hollywood, being in the business, you have access to this this passion of yours, and you love it. So have you got any plans coming up to go see another house?
The list is always so long. Like, I've got to hit all the Beverly Hills Cop ones. That's on my list. My friend just found the Give Me a Break house.
Yeah,
I got to hit that one. He found the apartment building from One Day at a Time, because that was sort of one of my white whales. I just kept looking for that one. And a friend of mine.
Another white whale might be too close for comfort. It's a strange. Isn't it a strange apartment or something?
Yeah, I have that one. That's in San Francisco. That's on my post. Yeah,
I'll have to take a look. That's awesome. Yeah,
too close for comfort one. But yeah, so Venice Beach is Three's Company.
Yeah,
the opening of Three's Company. I got to go down there and get that. So there's always stuff like. But again, like, it takes time.
Yeah, absolutely. You do have a job.
If you're by yourself, it gets a little awkward, especially if it's a distance shot. Like, you can imagine, this is a big city. Like, you're going to set up a tripod on a timer, and you're going to run 20 feet away from it. Like,
better be in a nice neighborhood.
It's insanity sometimes. You're like, what am I doing?
The very idea of it's exciting for me, because I do want to stand there and feel the feels. And like you said, maybe not all of them give you that, but I think that that's exciting to stand there, go, oh my gosh, part of my youth, part of my growing up, part of what I remember made me is right here. So that's definitely part of it for me. So it is exciting. I've seen your pictures over the years, and I said, I'm going to reach out to Chuck and see if he wants to do this, because I think a lot of people would love to see those.
Yeah.
I love that you have this passion. It's great. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for sharing these stories with me. If you don't mind, I may reach out to you again for a whole different kind of show. How's that sound?
Of course. Yeah. I know a lot of stuff. I've got a lot of useless information in my
I'll take it. So I don't want to take up any more of your time. So thanks for being here. Hope you had a good time.
I did. Thank you so much. Good seeing you.
Absolutely. You too.
There are so many more locations that we'll probably hit in future shows. But for now, let's return from the space-time continuum. I can't thank Chuck enough for being our tour guide. These locations mean so much to so many of us and satisfy us each in different ways. So although the comparisons and the then and nows may change, seeing them again today makes them feel as alive as they ever were. It reminds us that many of these locations are cherished collective memories. We're lucky to have gone on this journey together, and from the comfort of wherever you are. We didn't do any of the legwork, and you and I didn't spend any on gas. Knowing that all of these won't be around forever, so before they're all gone, it's good to know that PopCon provides you with a kind of a destination to relive our fondest 80s locations again and again. Until next time.